The sudden alert. In the vast silence of space, the starship Horizon glided smoothly through the dark. The crew worked quietly, each person focused on their tasks. The ship was part of a long line of human vessels that had defended the outer colonies for many years. Tonight, like many other nights, the crew trusted that their mission would be routine. But routine was about to be shattered. Captain Malik stood at the main control deck, watching the display screens with calm determination. The soft hum of the engines and the quiet chatter of the crew filled the room. Suddenly, a sharp alarm rang out, echoing through the corridors of the ship. The red warning lights flashed, and a loud beep signaled that something was very wrong. The alert message read, "Warning, hostile warship detected in the sector." In that moment, every crew member felt a rush of anxiety. The peaceful routine was broken by a clear sign of danger. The captain's eyes widened as he looked at the screen, trying to understand the source of the threat. Navigator Sarah quickly ran to the main console, her hands trembling slightly as she studied the data. "Captain, the sensors show a large vessel approaching from the east," she said in a steady voice, though her eyes betrayed her worry. "It is unlike any ship we have seen before." Engineer Leo, who had been busy checking the engine systems, dropped his tools and joined them. "The readings are off the charts," he said, peering at the monitor. "This is no ordinary enemy vessel. It seems to be powered by technology we do not recognize." Captain Malik called his officers for an emergency meeting in the command center. The room filled with murmurs and the sound of hurried footsteps as the crew gathered around the central table. The captain explained the situation in clear, simple words so that everyone could understand the danger they were facing. "We have just detected a warship that does not belong to any known force," Captain Malik began, his voice calm but firm. "This is a clear message. We are not alone in this part of space, and not all who travel these sectors mean us well. We must prepare for the worst." As the captain spoke, a new fact emerged on the screen. The vessel was not acting on its own. It belonged to a rising force that many had only heard of in whispers, a mysterious empire that had started to make its mark on distant worlds. This so-called emergent empire was known for its swift strikes and sudden appearances, and now it had sent its warship into their sector. The crew listened in silence as the gravity of the situation sank in. The idea of an unknown empire filled them with both fear and a strange sense of hope. They had trained for emergencies, but nothing could prepare them for the arrival of such a powerful force. Captain Malik knew that the first moments after an alert like this were critical. Every decision could mean the difference between survival and disaster. Sarah rechecked the sensor data, her fingers flying over the keys. "The ship is heading straight for us," she said quietly. "It is closing fast, and its trajectory shows no sign of stopping. We must act quickly." Engineer Leo added, "We should ready our defensive systems. I will check the shields and weapons to ensure they are at full power." His clear, direct words helped to calm the tension among the crew, even as they all felt the weight of the unknown enemy closing in. In the command center, Captain Malik took a deep breath and made his decision. "Prepare the ship for evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "I want every system ready for battle. This is our chance to show what we are made of. We will not run. We will stand our ground and protect our home." As the crew sprang into action, the Horizon's corridors filled with a mix of determination and fear. The crew members worked together like a well-oiled machine. Every person had a role, and every action was important. The sudden alert had turned their peaceful night into a fight for survival. Outside, the darkness of space held its breath as the warship from the emergent empire advanced. The enemy vessel was large and ominous, its shape unlike any design seen before. It glided silently through the void, its presence a dark promise of conflict. The looming threat of this mysterious empire would change the course of their journey forever. For a few long minutes, the Horizon and the approaching warship moved silently toward each other. In those moments, time seemed to slow down. The crew felt the weight of history upon their shoulders, knowing that every action from now on would be remembered. The sudden alert was only the beginning, a call to action that would test their courage and resolve. Captain Malik looked out at the dark expanse through the ship's large observation window. The stars sparkled faintly, and the distant glow of nebulae seemed to warn of the coming storm. He knew that his decisions in the next few moments could change the fate of his crew, and perhaps the fate of human space. The silence in the control room was heavy with anticipation. Each crew member was aware that their lives might soon change forever. The sudden alert had turned a quiet night into the start of a battle that would be remembered in the annals of space history. And so, with determination and unity, the crew of the Horizon prepared for the unknown. The warship of the emergent empire was closing in, and the fight for survival had begun. The crew's reaction. The sudden alert left the crew of the Horizon in a state of nervous anticipation. After the alarm rang out, all the members hurried to the command center, where Captain Malik waited at the large central table. The room was filled with a mix of fear, confusion, and determination as every crew member understood that the situation was serious. Captain Malik looked around at his team. His strong, calm voice cut through the tension. "We have detected a hostile warship from a rising force. I need everyone to focus and work together," he said. His eyes met those of each crew member, trying to offer reassurance despite the danger. In that moment, it was clear that the strength of the crew depended on unity and clear thinking. Navigator Sarah was one of the first to speak. She had already run to the sensor console as soon as the alert sounded. With a steady tone, she reported, "The warship is coming from the east. It is moving fast and appears to be using technology we have never seen before." Her voice was calm, but the worry in her eyes showed that she knew the danger was very real. Engineer Leo, who had been busy with the ship's systems, quickly joined the meeting. He set his tools aside and looked at the data on the monitors. "I have checked the shields and weapons systems," he said. "Everything is working, but we need to be ready for anything. This enemy is unlike any we have faced before." His practical words helped the crew focus on what needed to be done. Also present in the command center was Communications Officer Aisha. She had already started checking the ship's channels for any sign of friendly ships or additional messages. "I am scanning all frequencies," Aisha explained. "I want to know if anyone else has reported a similar threat." Her steady presence was a comfort to the team as she worked quickly and quietly. As the crew gathered, they began to discuss their options. Some members whispered among themselves, wondering if they should try to hide or if it was better to stand and fight. The debate was short and filled with a sense of urgency. "Should we try to communicate?" one crew member asked quietly. Another suggested, "Maybe we should prepare to move away from this area." The discussion grew as each person tried to offer an idea that could save them. Captain Malik listened carefully to all the suggestions. He understood the importance of every opinion. Yet he knew that decisive leadership was needed in a crisis like this. "I have made a decision," he announced. "We will prepare for evasive maneuvers. At the same time, we will try to make contact. We must understand their intentions before we act further. But if they show any sign of attack, we must be ready to fight." His clear instructions settled the debate. The crew quickly split into small teams, each given a specific task. Navigator Sarah returned to her console to monitor the warship's position and speed, updating the captain as new information came in. Engineer Leo and his team went to the engine room to ensure that every system was running at its best, ready to power the ship's quick movements if needed. Communications Officer Aisha focused on sending out a clear signal on all available channels. She hoped that the enemy might respond or at least give a clue to their purpose. The simple, clear words of her messages reflected the urgency of the situation. "This is the Horizon. We are open to communication. Identify yourselves." It was a small attempt to bridge the gap between potential enemies through words rather than force. In a quiet corner of the command center, a young crew member named Rowan checked his equipment. His role was to assist wherever needed, and even though he was new to the crew, he felt the weight of the moment. His eyes were wide as he listened to the orders, and he quickly made sure that every device he could find was turned on and ready for action. His actions, though small, were a crucial part of the overall effort. The room was filled with the steady hum of computers and soft beeps from the control panels as the crew carried out their tasks. Each person focused on their part of the plan, knowing that every detail mattered. The shared sense of purpose began to replace the initial fear. The crew had trained for emergencies like this, and even though the threat was unknown, they trusted in their abilities and in each other. Captain Malik walked slowly among his team, offering encouraging words and checking on every station. He knew that the strength of the Horizon was not just in its advanced technology, but in the dedication and bravery of its crew. "Stay alert," he reminded them in a firm yet kind tone. "We are in this together. Remember, we must keep our minds clear and our actions simple. Every decision we make now can save our lives." The discussion in the command center grew quieter as the crew focused on their tasks. The atmosphere was one of respectful determination. They did not speak in panic or haste, but in clear, simple terms that made every instruction easy to follow. The crew was united by a common goal: to understand the threat and to protect their ship and each other. As minutes turned into what felt like an eternity, the Horizon's crew worked like a well-oiled machine. Their faces showed a mix of worry and resolve, but above all, there was a deep trust in their captain and in one another. The moment of reaction was crucial, and every crew member knew that their actions in these early minutes would set the course for what was to come. With every update from the sensors and every successful check on the systems, the crew's confidence grew. The unknown enemy was still a mystery, but the Horizon was ready to meet whatever came next. The simple decisions and clear actions in the command center were the first steps in a long journey that would test the strength and spirit of every person on board. The sudden alert had transformed their ordinary night into the beginning of an extraordinary challenge. The crew's reaction was calm, united, and determined. A small but significant victory in the face of looming danger. The rising tension. The Horizon's crew now entered a phase where every heartbeat seemed to echo the growing danger. With the hostile warship still on the radar, the entire vessel shifted into a state of heightened alert, and the rising tension was almost palpable. On the bridge, Navigator Sarah watched the enemy vessel grow ever closer on her screen. The simple, flickering lines of data now formed a large, ominous shape in the vast darkness of space. "It is nearing faster than we expected," she said in a low, steady tone, her eyes not leaving the screen. Her fingers danced over the controls, adjusting the tracking settings as she sought to capture every detail of the ship's movement. With each update, the unknown warship seemed to gain more presence, its unusual energy patterns hinting at technology that was beyond anything the Horizon had ever encountered. In the engine room, Engineer Leo and his team were hard at work. The soft glow of the control panels lit their focused faces as they recalibrated the ship's defenses. "We must ensure our shields hold," Leo instructed in clear, simple words, his voice cutting through the hum of machinery. His team checked and rechecked the power flows, their actions a quiet dance of precision and urgency. Every switch flipped and every gauge adjusted served as a reminder that any mistake could be costly. Their steady work helped to hold back the fear that threatened to spread like wildfire among the crew. Back on the bridge, Captain Malik observed everything with a keen, practiced eye. He knew that small details could mean the difference between victory and disaster. "Stay alert, everyone," he said in a calm yet firm tone. "The enemy ship is not following any standard pattern. It may be using technology we do not understand." His words were simple, but they carried a deep sense of warning. The captain's steady gaze and measured speech helped to keep panic at bay, even as the tension in the room mounted. Aisha, the communications officer, continued her efforts to reach out. The silence on the channels was a stark reminder that the Horizon was isolated in this vast sector. "I am sending out repeated messages," she explained quietly. "No one is answering yet." The silence that followed her words only deepened the crew's uncertainty. In that quiet, Every beep from the radio and every flicker on the monitor added to the growing sense that something was very wrong. Suddenly, a new alert flashed on Sarah's console, a series of irregular energy pulses coming from the enemy vessel. "Captain, the ship's energy readings are fluctuating," she reported. "These pulses are not random. They seem to be deliberate signals." Her observation sparked a flurry of activity on the bridge. The crew exchanged worried looks, each aware that this new data could indicate that the enemy's intentions were more complex than a simple attack. Captain Malik leaned in, studying the data. "This is not normal," he murmured. "It might mean they are testing our defenses or perhaps trying to communicate in their own way." The thought hung in the air like a challenge. Was this enemy preparing for battle, or were they sending a message that could change everything the crew thought they knew about the rising threat? The captain's mind raced with possibilities, and each one deepened the tension within the room. The rising tension was also felt in the quieter parts of the ship. In a small monitoring station, a young crew member named Rohan adjusted a sensor panel, his hands trembling slightly with anticipation. Every beep and every flicker of light on his monitor felt significant. "It's all happening so fast," he whispered to himself. The simple reality of his work was now intertwined with the fate of the entire ship, and he understood that even his smallest actions mattered. As the enemy warship drew closer, the horizon itself seemed to respond. The gentle hum of the engines grew louder, and the vibrations of the ship took on a new urgency. The crew felt as if the vessel was alive with tension, a living reminder that the danger was not yet past, but ever present. The careful coordination between the engine room, the bridge, and every corner of the ship was crucial. Each team member was a vital part of the whole, and any lapse could leave them exposed. In the command center, the atmosphere was a mix of determination and dread. The ship's computer beeped softly as it compiled data, and every new piece of information was met with a focused response. The crew's actions were deliberate, their movements methodical. They worked together seamlessly, united by the clear and simple goal of protecting their home in space. Captain Malik's steady presence was a beacon of calm amid the chaos. His eyes swept across the faces of his team, silently urging them to stay strong. "Remember," he said simply, "we have trained for moments like this. Every small step we take now is our defense against the unknown." His words, though few, were powerful enough to reassure even the most anxious among them. The enemy ship's approach, its strange pulses, and the subtle hints of an unfamiliar power source all contributed to a sense of rising tension, a tension that was not just fear, but the quiet courage of a crew ready to face an uncertain future. In the deep silence of space, with danger looming ever larger, every crew member knew that the next moments would test their resolve like never before. Thus, the horizon continued its cautious journey, its crew united in purpose, their hearts beating in sync with the rising tension that foretold the coming storm. First contact. In the dark vastness of space, the horizon finally came face to face with the unknown enemy warship. The crew's hearts pounded as the ship's screens revealed a massive, silent vessel drawing ever nearer. Its smooth, metallic surface glinted faintly in the starlight, and strange patterns of light danced along its hull. This was no ordinary ship. It was a clear sign that the mysterious empire was here. And now there could be no turning back. On the bridge, Navigator Sarah's eyes widened as she tracked the enemy vessel. "Look at its design," she said in a calm yet awed tone. "It is unlike anything we have seen before. Its lines are sleek, and the lights along its body are pulsing slowly, as if it is sending a signal." Her fingers moved swiftly over the controls to capture every detail of the ship's approach. Captain Malik stood firmly at the center of the bridge, his gaze fixed on the large screen before him. He knew that this moment was critical, a chance for first contact that could either spark a peaceful conversation or trigger a battle. "Maintain our position," he ordered in a steady voice. "We will not move until we know their intent." Down in the engine room, Engineer Leo monitored the ship's systems with focused intensity. "Our shields are holding, and all systems are ready," he reported. Yet even as he spoke, his eyes betrayed the deep concern he felt. Every beep from his console was a reminder that they were now inches away from a potential clash. At the same time, Communications Officer Aisha worked quickly to open a clear channel to the approaching warship. Her hands moved over the console as she sent a simple yet firm message. "This is the horizon. We come in peace. Identify yourselves." For long moments, the only reply was silence. A heavy, expectant pause that filled the room with tension. As the enemy ship edged closer, its lights began to pulse in a slow, rhythmic pattern. It was as if the vessel was carefully choosing its next move. The bridge fell silent, every crew member intently watching the unfolding scene. The pulsing lights and soft hum from the enemy ship were the only signals in the vast silence of space, and they spoke of caution rather than immediate aggression. The horizon sensors picked up every subtle movement. The warship's course was deliberate, almost as if it was testing the waters. "Their course is steady," Navigator Sarah noted. "They are not charging in. It seems like they are waiting for a response." Her simple words carried the weight of the unknown, as the crew wondered if this was a test or a greeting. Captain Malik broke the silence, his voice firm yet open. "Let's stay ready for anything," he said. "Aisha, keep trying to decode their signal. Leo, be prepared to raise our defenses at a moment's notice." His orders were clear and measured, designed to prepare the crew without causing panic. Minutes passed slowly as the enemy ship continued its approach. Then, as if a hidden switch had been flipped, a soft rhythmic tone came through the communications channel. Aisha's face lit up with cautious relief. "I'm picking up a clear signal now," she said. "It is not an attack. It sounds like a greeting." The tone of the signal is calm, even friendly. The crew exchanged looks of disbelief and cautious hope. Engineer Leo confirmed, "Our systems show no hostile intent. Our shields are steady, and our weapons are on standby, but not activated." His calm report helped to ease some of the tension that had gripped everyone on board. For a few long, tense minutes, the two ships floated in silent mutual observation. The enemy warship's lights pulsed steadily, and its slow approach suggested that it was waiting, perhaps inviting the horizon to come closer. The crew of the horizon, trained for battle yet ever hopeful for peace, prepared themselves to respond in kind. Captain Malik decided to take the next step. "Open a video channel," he instructed softly. "Let's see if we can establish a face-to-face connection." With that command, the screens flickered and shifted, and the image of the enemy vessel came into view. Though the warship itself remained shrouded in mystery, a panel on its side lit up with a pattern that resembled a set of symbols, a silent message waiting to be understood. In that moment of first contact, the vast emptiness of space seemed to hold its breath. The horizon and the enemy warship faced each other across the void, each waiting for the next move. The simple, clear message of peace began to emerge from the patterns on the enemy ship, and the crew's fear slowly gave way to a careful hope. Captain Malik surveyed his team. Navigator Sarah, Engineer Leo, Communications Officer Aisha, and the rest of the crew, and saw determination in their eyes. They had prepared for this moment, and now they were ready to meet the unknown with open minds and vigilant hearts. The encounter was not a clash of weapons or a burst of violence. It was a quiet, measured moment of understanding between two very different forces. In the silence of space, where every signal could mean life or death, the first contact had become a bridge. Chance to communicate, learn, and perhaps find common ground. With both ships still at a cautious distance, the Horizon's crew braced themselves for whatever might come next. They had reached the edge of a new frontier, where the first contact was just the beginning of a long journey into the unknown. The twist. Just as the crew of the Horizon began to settle into their tense routines, an unexpected change came through on the communication channels. Navigator Sarah was the first to notice it, a sudden alteration in the enemy ship's signal. The familiar pulsating lights on the warship's hull began to shift into a different, slower pattern. On the screen, the mysterious symbols rearranged themselves into simple words. Help, not war. A hushed silence fell over the bridge. Captain Malik's eyes widened as he listened to the soft, almost pleading tone that followed the message. Our enemy isn't sending us a threat, he said slowly, his voice laced with both surprise and caution. They are asking for help. Engineer Leo leaned in, scrutinizing the sensor data with renewed interest. The energy readings are dropping. Their shields are failing. And there's a pattern of distress in the power output, he reported. It seems the warship is damaged, not by an external attack, but by something happening from within. Communications Officer Aisha quickly rechecked the incoming signals. I'm getting another message, she said, her fingers flying over the console. It says, our empire is in chaos. A dark force has taken our fleet. We are not your enemy. We beg for your aid. The simple words repeated in a clear, calm tone, carrying a deep sense of desperation. The crew exchanged looks of disbelief and uncertainty. The enemy ship, once a symbol of impending conflict, now appeared to be a victim of a greater unseen menace. The message was clear. The warship was caught in a conflict that was not of its own making, a conflict waged by a darker force that threatened not only them, but potentially many others in the sector. Captain Malik's steady presence returned as he gathered his thoughts. This is a twist we did not see coming, he said. Our first impression of a hostile force now seems to be wrong. We are looking at a ship in distress, pleading for help against an enemy that is much more dangerous than we initially thought. He paused, scanning the faces of his trusted crew. But this does not mean we can let our guard down. We must proceed carefully. Navigator Sarah, still focused on the incoming data, added, the ship's trajectory has changed. It is no longer on a direct course for confrontation. Instead, it is moving slowly, almost as if it's waiting for someone to come to its aid. Her simple words underlined the new possibility, that the enemy ship might be seeking rescue rather than conflict. Engineer Leo agreed. Our data shows significant internal damage. Whatever this dark force is, it appears to have weakened their systems. They might have been overwhelmed, and now they're asking for help before they are completely lost. The revelation sparked a cautious debate among the crew. Some worried that helping an enemy ship could be a trap set by the dark force, while others felt a duty to offer assistance in the face of genuine distress. Captain Malik listened to both sides, weighing the risks with the calm resolve that had guided him through every challenge before. After a few moments, he made his decision. We cannot ignore a cry for help, even if it comes from what we once considered our enemy, he declared. We must balance our need for caution with our duty to assist. I will send a small, secure team to make contact. They will approach under strict protocols. Their mission is to assess the situation, confirm the authenticity of the message, and if safe, offer assistance. A hush fell over the room as the crew processed the plan. Navigator Sarah adjusted the ship's course slightly to bring the horizon into a safe but observant range. Engineer Leo began preparing a detailed status report, and Communications Officer Aisha kept her channel open, ready to receive any further messages. The tension on the bridge shifted from fear of immediate attack to the uncertainty of what lay beyond the simple words on the screen. Time is critical, Aisha said quietly, recalling the repeated pleas. The message ends with, hurry before the dark force consumes us all. The urgency in her voice was unmistakable. Captain Malik's expression grew even more serious. The dark force could be a threat to not just them, but to every ship in this sector, he warned. This twist might be the key to understanding a larger conflict at work in our galaxy. We must be ready for anything. The decision was made to launch a shuttle with a small team composed of a communication expert, a technical specialist, and a security officer. They would board the shuttle, approach the distressed warship, and try to establish a secure face-to-face connection. The entire crew of the Horizon felt the weight of this decision, a single move that could either forge a new alliance or open a door to unknown dangers. As the shuttle's engines roared to life and its lights broke the darkness of space, the Horizon's crew gathered around their captain, their hearts a mix of hope and apprehension. The enemy ship, once feared as a harbinger of war, now drifted with a quiet desperation. Its silent call for help had turned the narrative from one of inevitable conflict to a chance for unexpected solidarity. Captain Malik stood resolute as he issued the final orders. "Remember, our safety and the safety of our crew come first. But we also have the duty to help those in need if we can. Stay alert and be prepared for any sign of the dark force they mentioned." The shuttle began its careful approach, and with every meter drawn closer, the true nature of the crisis seemed to unfold. The Horizon and its brave crew were now stepping into uncharted territory, a realm where the lines between friend and foe blurred, and the fight was not just for survival, but for the hope of saving an entire empire from a looming darkness. In that quiet, charged moment, the simple plea for help revealed a twist that would change everything, setting the stage for a journey into the unknown where courage, unity, and compassion would be tested like never before. The climax. The shuttle, carrying the small team from the Horizon, docked with the distressed enemy warship. Every step inside the dark, silent corridors increased the tension. The team moved carefully, their flashlights revealing scared walls and broken panels. The air was thick with uncertainty, and each sound echoed in the emptiness. Suddenly, deep in the main chamber, a low, rumbling sound began to build. The team stopped in their tracks. Out of the darkness, a swirling mass of dark energy emerged. It moved like a living shadow, shifting and pulsing as if it were alive. The security officer shouted, "Take cover," and the team quickly formed a protective line behind a broken wall. The dark force expanded, its energy filling the room. The crew could feel its power as it threatened to consume everything in its path. At that moment, the technical specialist spoke up in a calm, clear voice. "This energy is not natural. It seems to be controlled by a hidden system. We must disable that control to stop it." Her words gave the team a focus, a small spark of hope in the overwhelming darkness. Working together, the communications expert and the technical specialist searched for clues. They soon found a control panel on one of the walls, its surface marked with strange symbols and pulsing with the same rhythm as the dark force. The panel appeared to be the source of the energy that was spreading through the ship. As the dark force roared and surged, the team advanced toward the panel. The security officer led the way, keeping an eye out for any sudden moves from the mysterious energy. The technical specialist carefully bypassed the damaged circuits, her hand steady as she worked to decode the panel's simple commands. With the control panel in view, she pressed a series of buttons in the proper sequence. Almost immediately, a powerful shockwave of energy burst from the panel. For a split second, the dark force shuddered as if it had been struck by a sudden blow. Its swirling mass began to shrink, and the hold it had on the ship started to weaken. The team held their breath as the energy ebbed away. Slowly, the dark force dissolved into nothingness, leaving the chamber in a stunned silence. The damaged systems of the enemy warship began to stabilize, and lights flickered back on as power returned to the vessel. The danger had not only been halted, it was now being reversed. Back on the Horizon, Captain Malik watched the live feed with relief and pride. The brave actions of his small team had turned the tide. In that moment, both sides realized that the true enemy was the dark force, not each other. The enemy ship, once feared as a threat, was now freed from its control. The climax of this encounter had shown that courage, quick thinking, and teamwork could overcome even the most mysterious and powerful forces. With the dark energy gone, hope began to return. The Horizon and its crew, along with the newly freed enemy vessel, now faced a future where the real threat had been defeated, at least for now. The resolution and new beginnings. With the dark force defeated and the enemy warship freed from its control, A calm began to return to the vast reaches of space. The once distressed ship now floated peacefully near the horizon, its systems slowly coming back to life. The shuttle team, their mission complete, returned safely to the horizon, each member carrying the weight of what they had witnessed and the hope that their actions had sparked a change. Back on the horizon, Captain Malik gathered his crew in the command center. The atmosphere was no longer heavy with fear, but filled with a quiet resolve and a new sense of purpose. Today, we have faced not just an enemy, but a darkness that threatened us all, he said in a clear, simple voice. We have shown that when we work together, we can overcome even the greatest of challenges. His words were met with nods of agreement from every crew member, who now understood that courage and teamwork could bring light at the darkest moments. Navigator Sarah updated the ship's logs with the latest readings, noting that the enemy vessel was now sending signals of gratitude and peace. Engineer Leo and his team carefully checked every system on both ships, ensuring that no hidden dangers remained. Communications Officer Aisha continued to monitor all channels, ready to send out any further messages that might help rebuild trust between the two crews. As the horizon maintained a safe distance, representatives from the now liberated enemy warship joined the communication channel. Their messages were simple and sincere. We were controlled by a force beyond our understanding, they explained. Now that we are free, we wish to learn from you, and perhaps share what we have discovered. This unexpected offer opened a new chapter, one that could lead to a stronger alliance against future threats. The crew of the Horizon listened carefully as the enemy representatives spoke. In the silence that followed, they realized that the crisis had brought them together in a way they had never imagined. The initial clash of suspicion had been replaced by a willingness to understand and work towards a common goal. Both sides had experienced loss and fear, and now there was a chance to heal those wounds together. Over the next few hours, Captain Malik and the enemy ship's representatives discussed ways to prevent another dark force from ever rising again. Simple plans were made: joint patrols in the sector, sharing of sensor data, and regular communication to watch for any signs of trouble. The discussions were straightforward, with clear language and mutual respect guiding every word. In a quiet moment on the horizon's observation deck, Captain Malik looked out into the starry void. The countless stars, once cold and distant, now seemed to twinkle with a promise of hope and renewal. He thought of the many nights spent defending human colonies and the challenges they had faced. Tonight, they had taken a step not just towards safety, but towards a new beginning, a future where differences could be overcome by shared goals and compassion. The crew spent the rest of the night repairing the ship and preparing for the journey ahead. Each person, from the seasoned officers to the youngest crew member, felt the warmth of unity that had grown in the face of danger. They knew that challenges might come again, but they were now more prepared to meet them together. Their experiences had taught them that even in the darkest times, a spark of hope could ignite a brighter future. As dawn approached in the distant reaches of space, the horizon set a new course. It was a journey not just of survival, but of rebuilding and strengthening bonds among those who once stood as enemies. The ship sailed onward with the promise of new alliances, the lessons of the past, and the courage to face whatever lay ahead. Thus, in the calm after the storm, the crew of the Horizon and their new allies looked forward to a future filled with understanding, unity, and the determination to keep the darkness at bay. Their story was just beginning, a tale of human resilience and hope in a vast, unpredictable universe.